Thank you very much, Amy. Welcome. Hope you're having a great time in Montreal. I'm an associate professor of geography in the Department of Geography and Anthropology at UW-Eau Claire. And Zach's an undergraduate. This is his first conference presentation. I'm throwing him right in. And he's doing. Are you nervous?
Definitely.
We're here to talk about a research project that he and I and two other people have been working on over this year, mainly over the summer, involving a region of northern Wisconsin and by extension some neighbors as well called the Northwoods. It's a region of the upper Midwest that a lot of people enjoy when they are recreating, and a lot of people own second homes in the Northwoods, and we were able to acquire a 3.2 million parcel database from the Wisconsin State Cartographer's office. And what we did over the summer is analyze the addresses of the second homeowners for the 800,000 parcels that lie in the northern region of Wisconsin. We are both kind of novices to some of the cartographic methods we'll be talking about today, and so please forgive us if we sound like we don't know what we're talking about, but we're trying our best, and thank you for being so hospitable.
What we're going to be going over today is the cartographic production processes we went through on this project, some techniques used and challenges we were confronted with, advice for delivering web-based map products on platforms like Esri Story Maps and Google Maps, and then how mapping a large data set for the broad purpose of telling stories about places. Like Ezra said, we obtained the data from Wisconsin State Cartographer's office. It's the third version of this, and it came out this summer. This is a statewide parcel data set and includes lots of attributes. Ones that we utilize would be like the assessed value of the land, the shape and area of the land, the tax address for the primary address for the landowner. So that would be the address like if they live out of state and own land in the northern region. And then with that data, we had to clean it up and format that data to the proper formatting for geocoding. And we geocoded it based off that primary ownership address. And then once that was done, we joined that geocoded data back to the land parcel data shapefiles that we download from the State Cartographer's Office website. And then once that is downloaded, we observe and spatially analyze the data. And then once that is done, you kind of come up with a story you want to share, and then you display that story in the different mediums we're going to be talking about today. Some of the techniques and challenges we were confronted with. One of the major things with this project was organizing the data in Microsoft Excel. Since it is such a large data set and it is done, by GIS analysts for each county, there's going to be some human error and some other errors we run into. The first one would be like eliminating zero and null values. More often than not, this was government-owned land, which doesn't have like assessed values, so we took that out of our analysis. And then just because each county's GIS group or team inputted this data, there was kind of a set format for how to put the address in, but it wasn't standardized across all the counties. So some had no commas, some had a comma between every space, some had extra spaces. So one of the major time-consuming things was organizing that into a proper format that you could geocode with. Previously, I think the year before, a group of students worked on this project, and it took them minimum few weeks, like month and a half.
Pretty much all summer.
We found some shortcuts with some functions that were very effective, and we had it done in 2-3 days. So that saved us a bunch of time to kind of just like play and mess around with the data, and that was, I guess, what I got paid to do, so that was pretty fun. And then, so the major thing was just correcting the human error, because it might have been formatted, but then there might have been a double comma, so you had to go into search through and find those as well. And then because each county was different, you had to apply different techniques and a combination of the techniques and tricks that you probably know with Excel. And then it comes to geocoding. This is another big process for this. We used Esri ArcMap Business Analysis. And with the group before, their target error rate was around 10 to 15%. Because we found a bit more effective and easier ways to organize that data in the correct format, once we did the first one, we realized we could get a target error rate of 1% or less. What was nice about that is then you could look at the errors and then determine what was the error and correct those. We got the error rate even lower. More often than not, it was an additional human error, like we missed a double comma, or it was international addresses which didn't work with what we were geocoding. And because this was such a big process for this data set and we had to learn it as we were going, we created a very detailed step-by-step guide. I think it's like 7 pages, quite a lot of text, size 10 font, so it's pretty extensive. It works for this exact data set, how to download it, how to utilize it, and it's also applicable to other large data sets. That's something that if you guys are interested in, we have that, and we have our emails at the end. You can contact us. Once that was done, it actually was pretty simple, just a simple one-to-one join with the geocoded data and back to the shapefile of the land parcels. And then, like I said before, this is where we kind of got a little bit more fun with it. We just kind of queried a bunch of things, analyzed a bunch of things, kind of see what the data could tell us and what stories were available.
Thanks, Zach. So yeah, one of our primary research questions was, who owns the Northwoods? I spent some time up there in my childhood, and I got used to seeing out-of-state license plates, and so this was just a very simple question we had, and because of the work of the GIS folks in the state of Wisconsin and the state cartographer's office, we were able to help answer this question. So once we got beyond the static maps, which we will share a few in a moment, Zach and I thought we would try to explore some of our online, more dynamic ways in which one can visualize our data set. And thanks to many NACIS members, I was able to find Josh Livney's Shape Escape. I call him St. Livney because it saves a lot of time. Being able to dropkick shape files into his website, and it spits out fusion tables or GeoJSON or TopoJSON files. And I thought I would try the fusion tables, Google's fusion tables. I wanted to be ambitious and try to do all 800,000. At the same time, I learned very quickly, of course, that's not possible. So we did a study area of the Minocqua chain of lakes in Oneida and Vilas County in north central Wisconsin, and you just see a screenshot of assessed value there. No legend. I decided just to do a quick screenshot there. There are some limited customizable options if any of you have played with fusion tables, with buckets and chloropleth, but I think there's a lot of potential there, especially if you are if you teach an introductory to cartography class, getting students exposed to playing or hacking maps that they probably use every day.
And with that, we also explored Esri story maps within our department. This actually has been used quite recently and quite a bit for field trips or field seminar classes. So we also decided we'd take a crack at this, and we figured it'd be an effective and kind of nice visual way to display some of our research on specific areas. What we definitely learned doing this was trial and error is very key with story maps if you don't know what you're doing. I think we would make a story map, and then you kind of learn things as you go, so we then remade that story map, and we went through that process quite a bit. The more we kind of dove into it, the more we learned, and the better we got at it. And then also, since this is such a large data set, it goes back to the same thing with Google Fusion tables. You can't really map them all at the same time. So it's going into that limited feature count and picking a study area to tell rather than all of the 800,000 parcels. And also a very effective thing we found with story maps, kind of accidentally, is embedding story maps within story maps. We found that was a very efficient way to tell a good story. This picture below is an embedded slide story map within our overall story map. It's just comparing the overall land parcel prices on the left, and then on the right is the total count of out-of-state owners. And then again, with this kind of story map, we thought this was a fun way to kind of learn some interactive map, but also experiment and see what we know and don't know, and it helped us further enhance our stories.
Yeah, so now for a little bit of show and tell, we wanted to make sure we were well within our time limit out of respect for other presenters. So 800,000 parcels, how to map it, how to visualize it. This is our study area. We hemmed and hawed about what counties to include, which counties to not include in the Northwoods. We decided to go with this. We're pretty happy with it. And so, did you make this map?
Yeah.
Well done. We spent some time in Oneida County, Vilas County, and leading up to that, we made some quick and dirty assessed value maps. And just doing that, I mean, it became pretty evident that if lakefront property is worth more, that's really not that surprising. But to see it on the map, and we use this map in the field to basically identify architectural styles, age of the cottage. Some of these homes are 2,000 square foot cottages on Island Lake there. We were hoping to rent a pontoon boat and go out and enjoy the lake from there, but we did that on a different lake. But we'd like to go back, learn more about some of the ages of the homes and the people who live there, which we were able to do with our database. Zach, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, so something we realized right away is something I like to call willingness to travel. I attribute to people being lazy in Wisconsin. I'm from up north, so I think I can say that. The pink county is our study county, which is Eau Claire County, which is actually where we are both currently living. And then this kind of shows that the closer counties to the county is primarily where people in that county own land. So the darker green is closer to the pink, so people aren't traveling as far. This was relevant in majority of like the top half of Wisconsin and the part of Minnesota. But then once you get down to, let's say, like Chicago, it was a little bit opposite. They're already driving so far, so that little like extra half an hour to get to a different county didn't seem to play a big difference. So Vilas and Oneida County contain majority of the lakes up in northern Wisconsin, and that's something that people in Eau Claire aren't willing to drive the extra hour to, but people in Chicago are.
Let me go back and just point out where Oneida County is because we didn't put a label on. That would have been embarrassing. Just as a case study, Oneida County has a lot of lakes on it, a very beautiful county. The map you see here is based off of last year's data. Each red dot you see is the primary address of a landowner who owns at least one parcel of property in Oneida County. You can see in northern Illinois showing up really well, but we were surprised to see, and forgive me for the fuzziness of the map, but the extent to which people in other states, to some degree, own property in one small county in northern Wisconsin. Every state is represented here except for Rhode Island. So there are 22 people who live in Arkansas, or at least that's where the permanent address is, who own property in Oneida County. So the footprint of land ownership, and maybe to be more humanistic about it, the place that the Northwoods, the role that the Northwoods has in the hearts and minds of people nationwide resonates with a lot of people, obviously, but is mappable, and that's what makes this project so fun. Notice there are no red dots in Wisconsin on this map. That's because they're everywhere. Choropleth map, zip code level. You can see a lot of year-round residents in Oneida County there, but notice that half an hour south in Wausau, the north central agglomeration, just 2 counties south of Oneida County, around 1,000 people there own property in Oneida County. But Green Bay, Fox Cities, the Madison and its environs, and Milwaukee and its environs, there are hundreds, thousands of people who own property up north, and so this helps bring up or raise more questions for us. Lastly, story maps. Zach and his colleague Andrew, the other student who's collaborating with us, have done a really nice job putting the words and dropping photos into ESRI story maps and being able to illustrate our data, our results in a different way is a really powerful way to tell our story.
Just to kind of recap what we've covered, working with a large data set means learning how to organize and format that data in a way that you need it. So that's like thinking about that before you do it is a quicker and easier way to do that. Displaying such a large data set has its own issues. You have to be creative and willing to listen to what the data can do, kind of go in with an open mind and let the data kind of show what it can do for you. There are great tools out there for starting out if you're pretty brand new to this like I was this summer. We found that Esri story maps and Google Fusion tables were very effective and easy to begin with, and actually pretty fun to kind of learn as you go. And then overall, like a big concept we got from this project was the more you try, the more you'll learn. So it's experimenting, researching, trying new things, doing things you didn't think would work might give you a different result that you would find much more interesting.
So we have a lot of projects in mind and papers in mind with this project. We're currently working on a manuscript that discusses the extent of non-resident land ownership in the Northwoods and its relationship to the degree of economic dependency in a lot of the communities that rely on second homeowners, even thinking about property taxes and the The non-resident owners paying property taxes that support the schools in some of these communities is another story in and of itself. We hope that the maps that we're able to produce really supplement or highlight the work that we've been able to do. And I know this is a sharing community. We're happy to share what we've done, and I'm sure many of you have ideas or can provide us advice for how to more effectively map our data, so we greatly appreciate any advice. Thank you for your time and questions. Here is our contact information.